All right, welcome back. So today we're going to go ahead and get this thing covered, hopefully. We'll see what happens. So anyways, since the last video, I've been watching the comments and only seen a couple down there. So I went ahead and went with the color that I got the comment on, and that is this red here. And as you guys can see, I've already started cutting into it and tried to speed this process up a little bit. But when you're working with a pattern like this that is repeating over and over, you're going to get quite a bit of waste when you're cutting out the pieces on this, because if it was just a random pattern that didn't make sense, you can continually cut it from the next piece and not have any strips and stuff like this. So basically, when you have your material picked out, I'll show you how you lay it out. So as you can see the different patterns on here, and if you notice here on the edge, I couldn't go with this first one here when I laid it out on here, because you have to have a certain amount of material that comes around and goes in, and for the next piece to come over on your top and bottom. So I adjusted the material around until I found a spot where I could get the pattern. And I'll bring you guys over here and show you. So you just kind of lay it out and work it around until you have your pattern in the desired position. And then what you do from there, once you have it laid out, you take yourself a piece of chalk, okay, and then you just lightly go around and mark the whole edge of this. And then after you do that, then you get your material down here. Obviously I'm not doing the full piece. I'm just trying to show you an example so you guys can lay out your material. I'm glad you guys are sitting on the tri-square here, so I gotta move it. So anyways, once you have your area marked out that's going to go on the amp, I leave myself a good 2 inches from that mark. And your square here is exactly 2 inches here. So all you got to do is just lay your square down on your marks, mark it out there. Now on the sides, it doesn't matter how it goes around the edges, just as long. Here, I'm going to go ahead and get the piece that I've already cut out. Where's the side? Here's a side piece. So as you can see, this was my original mark here. Now, this is what I'm talking about on the side pieces, okay? We're going to glue these on and we'll trim this stuff off later, okay? But the side pieces don't matter because they're going to go underneath the back and the top. So, once we have your 2 side pieces cut out and patterned, then you got to start looking at your material again and decide if you have enough to go certain ways with it. So for like example, this is the same exact material here, only in a teal color. Now because of the size of this amplifier cabinet, it was the same exact size piece of material there, which I think was 2 yards or maybe 1.5 yards. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I ordered it. But anyways, in order to get that laid out to where the patterns kind of made sense on it, I had to go long ways across the top with the patterns. And then if you notice, the pattern on this is a little lower on this side than it is on that side. But you never see both sides at the same time. So you just got to you lay it out till it makes sense, okay? Now here's another example. I rolled these out so you guys could see. And this is the type of cabinet that we're going to be working on today, where the back piece actually starts up at the front and the speaker grill comes around the bottom and up and all the way back into the top here again. And this one I actually sewn, but it's not sewn to the next piece. I'll explain that to you when we do a covering like this that has this really super thick cloth, because it's a whole nother animal. I'm starting you guys off on the easy stuff. So anyhow, when you get your two side pieces measured out. This is my top piece. I've already made this so I can show you guys how it's done. So basically I went the opposite way. I went straight with this one. So I got my pattern marked out. Oh, that's the bottom of the, let me flip this over. There we go, that's the top. So, let me get this, hard to do it one-handed. Alright. So now this piece, remember I said the sides are going to come up and be covered. And I'm going to show you how to do all that obviously in this video. But anyways, once you have your piece laid out and you know this is your center, you have to measure in between here and here because this piece has to come down in here. So once you find the pattern that you want, you find the center of your pattern. We know this is 14 inches. So I just measured from the center of the pattern over 7, from the center of the pattern over 7, and I left myself a ½ inch on each side to fold over. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to show you guys how to do the side pieces, because you got to get this step done in order to install them. So these are the two pieces that you will have to iron as well. You actually have to iron them all. I should have told you that. So like this one, I don't think I got this one. No. Do you see? I saved this for you guys. See the lines in it because the material comes all folded up. So now this is a good time to use your wife's iron and just get the creases and stuff out of the material. It makes it much easier to work with and lay, especially once you got it glued. So just make sure that it's fairly flat. So now you guys can see my chalk line here because I've already measured 7 inches from the center both directions. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this material over. You're going to take your spray glue here. We're going to go kind of close because you're going to try to keep that glue. You see it sprays in a pretty big pattern. So you just want to kind of go quickly, get yourself a nice little bead right there. You don't want to overload it because it will soak through the material. So that's pretty good right there. And just pull that back. And then once you find your chalk line, just in a couple spots, go around and tack it. Get that chalk line nice and straight there. Because this will be your finished piece. Now we're just going to flip this over. We're going to hit it with an iron. And just be very careful you don't get your wife's iron in the glue, because once you wake up from getting hit in the head with it, you'll realize she used it on your favorite shirt to get the glue off. So just be very careful around the glue. Again, we're going to do the same thing here. And this can's about half gone, so it's a little hard to spray it, tilt like that, so I got to do it twice. There we go. Alright. Pull that back a little bit. See how, now you see how this is fraying? It's because I didn't use the zigzag shears to cut that. But if I'd have done that, you would have seen all that zigzag here telegraph through the material once we have it all finished. So that's why I don't use the proper shears for the cloth when I'm doing amplifiers. Now if we were sewing something together, then I would use that. So if this was a thicker material, this would also be the time where I would run this through the sewing machine and put a top stitch through that. And what that would do is it would assure that it wouldn't fold back out and come undone, because the other material is 3 times thicker than this stuff. So it's a lot harder to work with and keep together. So that's it on the iron. Of course, I've ironed all the pieces out flat prior to the video, but you guys got the gist of that. So this is going to be the piece that actually starts. I don't know if if you guys can see, I got this thing tilted. Yeah, okay, so this piece will actually start right in here after the sides are on, and we'll glue and set that and staple it, and then we'll start to wrap it around. And I'm going to show you guys how to get nice perfect lines and stuff too. So let's go ahead and get these pieces out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and start by getting the side pieces on. So we'll go ahead and just start with this one. Let me get you guys where you can see. And it is going to be a little difficult because I don't have you above me, but basically what I want to do is I just want to lay this back up here again so I can get a good judgment of how it lays. So now if you guys want to take one more look here. So basically what I did is I made sure that this paisley and this paisley are roughly in the same spots. Same with up here, how they wrap over, the distance between the edges. So once you have, because this one here has the line and I just copied the other one that don't have a line. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take our chalk. We're going to go ahead, once we're real happy with the way this thing is laying, we're going to go ahead and mark these corners a little better. Like this. Because I'm going to be using the corners to set the piece. And this glue is a little forgiving, but it only has so many tries of peeling it up a little bit. So you want to try and get it down on your first try. And I usually just use my hand, but there's also tucking tools, which we will be using this one. We're doing the corners and stuff like that. You can also use a plastic one if you don't have a tucking tool, and if you don't have that, you can even use like one of these little plastic squeegees or a putty knife or something like that. Squeegee, whatever you want. But anyways, you're gonna see how I do it here. Next thing we want to do now is start tacking it up. So this material is extremely thin. So take a look at that. I mean, you could see through it if you had some sunlight coming through it. So it doesn't take much to soak through that. So you're going to do several coats of this. So what we're going to do is just go back and forth real quick like that. And then while that one's setting up, we're going to go ahead and start gluing this pretty heavily. And just watch how you're aiming it, because this stuff will go everywhere. Alright, now that we got that one first glue on, we're going to go the opposite direction here. I'll give that a minute. Go around and check this. I'm not worried about spraying up in here right now, even though I did. That gives it a first little tack. Yep, I got it pretty good all the way around. And I'm going to hit this side one more time up here, going the opposite way. And then that should do it. Let me see if you guys can see what's going on. Punch up a little bit more. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set these four corners. And usually what you can do is kind of take your eyes and usually get it eyeballed to lay it down a little bit. And stretch that up to that corner. Might have to let it go a little bit here and there. But this is where you only get so much time to get this figured out. Or you'll have to re-glue it. And then when you're using the other material, the thicker stuff I keep talking about, it's really hard to get that stuff laid down, because if you have to pull it back up, it's over with. You're gonna snag it like a sweater, and it'll start pulling the material out. Alright, how does that look? That looks a little crooked. Really, the trick is just before you tack it down, make sure you're happy with where it's at. It is a little forgiving. You can lay it on there and it'll tack itself. I'm thinking that looks pretty good. Yeah, okay, so now just going to start in the center and work my way from top to bottom and out to the edges. Alright, so now the next step here is to go ahead and just get all the sides pulled down. Don't worry about these corners. What you do is just pull it real tight and try to get as much wrinkle as you can out of it. Okay, that's the whole goal of this. The sides are going to get trimmed. Then take your corner, just pull that straight down. Stretch it out as much as you can. And these bottom corners and the top front corners don't matter as much as the back corners because they're all going to have chrome covers on them except for those top back corners. Oops, sorry. So we're just going to keep on working this around, and then the cloth, again, it's very forgiving, so when you get into that corner, just give it a nice stretch. That way you pull all the wrinkles out right here, because you're going to have a finished piece coming around here. And some of them don't have corners like the back. So you're not worried about getting it tucked in there right now. You just want it stretched around these corners, because we'll work on this with the tucking tool in a minute. Down here, again, just grab that corner. Stretch all the wrinkle out of it. Tucking tool helps push the wrinkles out too, but I've been doing this for so long I use my hands for a lot of it. So here again, get that pulled around. So again, what I'm doing is I'm taking some of this slack from here and I'm pulling it back in towards the corner, because then I'll have plenty of room to let it all lay flat once we tuck that corner in. You see how nice that's laying? And we're going to peel that back and glue it once more. I only shot a little bit of glue up in there to get the first layer to start to dry and stick. I got one more corner back here. Let's pull that straight down and get it nice and set. And then I'm going to show you how to trim it, so you have a nice even line and it's not going to telegraph through everything. Oh shit. I covered the wrong part. Son of a bitch. Alright, well, that's what I get. See? I don't edit stuff, so I might have to recut this piece. Damn it. Alright. At least it didn't dry out. And stretch my material out. I'm good. Okay. I can't believe that. I glued the damn bottom of it. Look at that. This is the side that I want. Oh my god. Alright, we're going to glue this again. And this is one of the reasons I actually usually don't video this kind of stuff. I just show you when it's done, because I get distracted and then I screw up like this. I just can't believe I did that. Well, I can. Oop, that's why I covered everything in plastic. Alright. We're going to get this thing covered someday today, but at least you know what I'm doing now. Just go ahead and lightly tack that again. Good thing I'm professional. I know how to fix this. Got plenty of material though if I had to recut it. Alright, doing this once again. Making sure the top of the pattern's at the top of the amp. Alright. One more shot at this. Let's get this laid up here. Stuck a little too much down here. Yeah, what a pain in the butt. But that's the way it goes. Alright, that looks good there. Yep. Alright, well, we were successfully able to save that piece without having to recut it. Because usually what happens when you start tacking it down and pulling on it like I was, it stretches it out pretty bad. Alright. Good thing I didn't trim it out. I would have been cutting a new piece. Because it sure wouldn't fit the top. I had covering on the bottom. What a dummy. And I'm going to send you guys flying. I better get you off of this cardboard here. Yeah. Alright. Moving on. Yeah, that sucks. It is what it is though. Look, didn't take that long to fix it. Sitting there trying to explain to you guys how to wrap it, and I'm not even paying attention what I'm putting it on. I just started sticking it on there. So again, it's just all about working it until you get all the little creases out. And again, if you have trouble with it, you can use your little tucking tool or whatever to help you get it in the spots. Alright. We might be able to get to trim this out here soon. Alright, here's the important corner. And we're going to have to put another extra piece in this as well, which you guys will see here in a second because of the shape of this cabinet. Alright. Okay, so now we got to leave this loose. Cardboard slides around a lot. Now this is where your scrap pieces come into play. So it doesn't matter what part you cut, just get yourself a scrap piece here, and then you got to glue this corner real good up underneath there, this corner up underneath there. Also, I forgot to mention, when you're doing your amplifier, once you have it all stripped down, that's the perfect time. Like a lot of them have open backs and stuff, so it's the perfect time to take a rattle can and black out your speaker baffle and the inside of your cabinet again before you start covering. Just thought I'd mention that. A little late, but hey, it is what it is. Alright, so the trick to this is when the material comes around, these corners usually don't get covered very well. So you get yourself some material in these corners and work it out like so. I'll let you see that. So you get it laid in there nice and smooth, and then we're going to come in here and we'll trim some more of this off once we get the next piece in. But when you're covering this, a lot of the times you have to split the material and it's going to leave a triangle of wood there. So if you go ahead and cover these two corners prior to getting these done, it's going to save you a lot of headaches. Is that iron still on? No. Heard something click over there. Alright, so I'll get this in. And this cloth here, it's nice and thin, so it's kind of like vinyl. It will stretch around nice and easy. I'm gonna grab my razor blade here. So basically, what you want to do is, you know, your material is going to cover up to this flat edge here. So what I like to do is put it where I can actually cut it, but I cut it just beyond that curve and come around. Alright, so there you can see that laying nice and flat in that corner. Now here's what you do to get this to lay around. I know I'm not going to need that much there, so I'm going to go ahead and trim some of that off right now. Okay, and then you just cut a few lines in the corner like that, so when you push the material, it stretches around and lays nice and flat. So that's how you get the corners covered and make sure the material isn't leaving any wood exposed. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out this other corner real quick. This is kind of a process. This amplifier cabinet in particular, all like the Fenders Blues and hot rods and all that, these ones take quite a bit more time to cover because of the sealed back and these weird corners here. And we got to get all that pulled around because our other piece is barely going to cover that. So now we got to tape this thing off so we can trim it. So what we do here, we take the masking tape, and let me explain this to you. So you know that the bottom piece and the top piece have to come around into here. So you have to have a finished edge all the way up to that point. So what I like to do is I take my masking tape and I stick it right along the front edge of the cabinet. You guys will see here in 1 second. Come around. A little bit more. So, since this piece has to go all the way around from the back, around the bottom, up to the front, you know the material has to go into this slot here. So this is going to be your finished edge all the way around, right back into where the speaker grill goes. So the reason that we did this, and again, when you're using the thicker material that has the embroidered stuff in it, it's not printed. If you put tape on it and peel it off, you'll rip it out. So you got to be real careful when you're taping that kind of material. But for this purpose, we're just going to tape it because it won't peel off the material. Anyhow, now we know that the bottom piece, let me grab that. The bottom piece, finished edge, will be on that finished edge right there once it's set. So what this tape does is it keeps me from gluing anything that you're going to see. But before we glue for the next piece, we got to go ahead and trim this because you're only going to want about a 1/2 inch to come underneath the next piece. So we'll trim that out, but first I got to tape this top one too. All right, So now I know where my finished edge is going to be, and now I can trim it. I go ahead and leave this corner stuff in here for a minute. I'm just basically going to take my razor blade and eyeball a 1/2 inch. Come right around the corner. Alright, so now the top piece will overlap that. And you're about to see here in a minute. As soon as we trim this out, we got to do the other side piece first actually. And I got to staple this before we move on to the next piece. Alright. Now we're going to work on this back. Here's where the tucking tool comes in. A little bit of glue. And give that a second to rest and set up. Alright, so that's how you do that. Get it all tucked in and glued, and then we're going to put some stainless steel staples in here. And we're also going to run a thin line right on the overlap piece that we leave. So right here we're going to put some staples. And what that's going to ensure is if for any reason, if the glue lets loose, this piece don't ever fall off. It's always going to be on there, regardless if the glue stays or not. So we're going to get to that here soon too. I already got the compressor all ready, staple gun, and 404 stainless staples. So let me go ahead and finish trimming this piece out. I gotta roll over this, hit this with some glue. Oh, the other thing you probably want, staple puller, because you gotta get rid of this old Velcro. It just gets in the way. Go. Boy, they put enough staples in this. All right. One more. Holy crap. I think they could have used about 3 more staples to hold that Velcro down. My God, there's 5 more in here still. Oh, no. Yeah, it's going to make it a lot easier. There we go. I'm going to just pull them out now. They're up in the corner. I can't get to them. Alright. Now I'm gonna glue that. And again, we're gonna be stapling it, so you don't wanna be lackluster on the glue, because you want it to stay. Alright, now that I got it all rolled over, use the tucking tool and get it down in that corner nice. You're just going to trim it off right into the corner. And that's that. Mix some of this stuff up. So now I guess what I should do is pause this and get the other side set like this so you guys aren't bored to death. But if you want to know how to do it, this is how you do it. Let's go ahead and staple this. That way it don't start coming off. Now what we're going to do is this nice even line. Alright, I think I got it all. So that is one side covered. And that's how you do that. So let me go ahead and I'll get this other side set because we're 37 minutes into it, and then I'll show you how to get the top and bottom set. Alright, so I got the other side on, the right direction going up, the right side of the amplifier. Now there we go, that's the second side, that's the first side. We got it all taped off, and I do need to get a wider piece of tape real quick here because we don't want to get glue on the material. We're about to put the top and bottom on, and I'm thinking we do the bottom first because even though it's a bigger piece, it's just straight. We don't have to do hardly any cutting at all. So go ahead and take me a piece of this 2-inch, and I'm going to go ahead and follow this, and that will keep me from getting glue on the material there. Go ahead and flip this around. Just so you know, it usually takes, this is almost empty, it usually takes about 2 of these. I started with that one a little more than half. Probably should have ripped that one, I don't know why I did that. Now I got to put a second piece on there. And I threw away a piece I probably could have used. See, the 6 piece, you got to practice them. Doesn't mean you always get them right. Gotta keep practicing the 6 P's. Alright. A little overkill on that, but it is what it is. Get all this stuff out of my way. Alright, bottom piece. Alright. Make sure I put it on the right direction here. And I got this set up this time so the majority of this pattern is in the center of the back of it to kind of break it up, because we have this pattern will be on the bottom now, both sides and the top, so a little monotonous there. We'll break it up and we'll use that one. So I just want to make sure my piece is going to fit. And it sure looks like it's gonna. So we can go ahead and glue it up. I'm going to start right here in the back. This is a good time to load up those cloth edges that are going to overlap or underlap, however you want to look at it. Almost out. Almost. Yeah, I'm just going to stir another can because it's going to leave. I already did. Left a big wad and let it soak through. And then you'll have a sticky spot. And we don't want a sticky spot because it'll turn into a dirty spot. That's why you got to do this in little layers so it don't soak through the material. Because if it does, then you'll have a sticky spot, which will collect dirt and grime, and the next thing you know, you're bumming because you got a big dirty sticky spot on your nice amplifier. Alright. So, I'm going to go ahead and give it a second to dry because I want to peel this tape off before I start setting the piece, because if my piece that I'm getting ready to install that I just stuck my hand in, it will stick to this tape. And if it's just a smidgen wider than my glue line, it's not going to be stuck to the tape. So again, once you get it all glued up, peel the tape. Alright, one down the side there, on the side there. We're going to let that set up for a second. I'm going to go ahead and peel this tape. Maybe. So now, when you start this, you only need enough material to make sure it goes in behind the amplifier chassis. And if you want, you can kind of lightly tack it like that so you can work with it. You just want to get 2 corners set, kind of lightly tacked. Then you can lift this up. Come straight back, make sure they're going to lie right down on your glue line there. The same thing here. Just take your thumbs on each. Can you see what I'm doing? Maybe. Just want to zoom in just a smidgen. So once you get these kind of eyeballed and laid, just grab your seams, because then you got control over how you're pulling down, and because you want to pull down, you got to make it tight. You just try to pull down to your corners and make sure your glue lines are covered, and then start in the middle on the bottom and work your way out. And the reason you want to start on the bottom is because when you start to work it out, if there's any slack that's going to go around the front, or you can lift this and work it up into the back. Which I don't think I have to do. Nope. See, and you work from your center out. So, after you get it set up, this is what it should look like. That's where you should be at right now. So that is the bottom of it, and here's the back. And we just left enough overhang here to get tucked down in there for that amp chassis to sit in. So, what we're going to do, since it's already on its face, and you guys are pointing down on your face, let me get you back up here. Zoom you back out. We're going to go ahead and flip this around. We're going to go ahead and get this buttoned up before, actually that's got enough glue on it. We just need the tucking tool. Just take your tucking tool and just work that down in there nice and tight. Now what I like to do here is just trim it off even with this wood, because then the amp chassis, see, there's not even enough there to trim off, but the amp chassis will hold that in there as well. But I'm going to go ahead and staple it as well too. I like the stuff to stay on. Alright, let's give it a flip. A squirt. Some of the glue cans you get, you can adjust the spray on them. This one's got a wide spray on it, so you just gotta be very careful of how you're squirting it. Now you just got to make sure that it comes all the way up and into the corner, into that corner. Roll that edge. I feel something lumpy in there. I picked up something. Yep. Got to make sure that will translate, and you'll see that. So you got to make sure you don't pick up nothing, and you'll feel it. So as long as you're using your hands to rub it on, you'll know if you got any garbage in it or not. Again, you just roll that around. Tucking tool. I'm going to go ahead and trim that off right in the corner. It is kind of hard to get down into the corner. But once you get one corner done, you can start to peel it, and then you can chase it to the other corner. Alright, now we just got to staple it up, put one on each end. Alright, got a little dangly string here, cut that. Alright, so here we go so far. We have the two sides in the bottom and back covered. So now we're going to do the same thing with the top here. I have very light chalk marks on it from when I patterned it out. So I know that this is the back here. And I did this one to where the pattern was in the center, and then the handle will go right over that. But I'm just trying to refit again, cover my ass here, make sure I'm going to set this right. And we are going to have to, when we do this, the trick to this is because this is so narrow in this section, you want to bring that around and just get one staple here and one here. And that'll keep it from coming away from the glue line, pulling away, and then you'll be able to work it. So let's go ahead and get this taped off and glued, and we'll get this set. And we're almost done getting the covering part done. For those of you that are interested in guitar shows and stuff, dig it out there. I am going to be at this guitar show right here with a practice amplifier that has been covered with that teal material, and it will be a door prize. So if you guys are in the area, stop by this guitar show. You maybe see me there recording. I usually am there a couple hours when I am there, but I am going to leave a door prize for you guys. I'm usually not around when they give that away, so I usually give my ticket to somebody. So if you see me, say, hey, you got an extra ticket, or did you give it away already? Because that's what I do. I just give it away. All right. Now the last thing to do here, which is kind of a strange thing to do, but here's what you do. Take yourself a piece of triangle tape. Yeah, this way. Just stick that in the corner like that. Because again, remember I told you guys, when you split the material is going to open up and leave a little V there. Now if you wouldn't have covered this, you'd see the wood. But now when you cut the material so it can work away around that corner, and you have that slight little V notch there, you're not going to see the wood, you're going to see material. But we want to put that little tiny piece of tape there and there, because remember I told you, sticky spot becomes dirty spot. You don't want glue where you're going to see it. So that is one more little tiny trick to that. So let's go ahead and get this stuff glued up. And I'm sorry this video is taking so long, but it is what it is. Again, that cloth area, I want to glue real good because I want it to stay stuck. Alright, one more tack on that. Peel this tape. And we're going to leave these little blue corner pieces in for now. Oh, no, we're not. Never mind. We're not. I just glued it. All right, we're getting closer. So this is where you gotta kind of do it a little ass backwards, because you're putting the pattern on the right way, but it's going to be upside down. Where's my marks at? Alright, I see them. There's a corner and there's a corner. Looks good. You just got to take your time when starting it. And get it lightly tacked. And this is where I'm going to come around and get one staple snuck right up underneath the bottom there. Same on this side. So now we have this corner and that corner set. We don't have to worry about it moving on us. So now what we need to do is just pull nice and tight to the corner. And set that. Lift up. Follow the glue line, pull nice and tight to the corner. Make sure that's nice and stuck down. And we're pretty damn close to my original chalk line. So that's good. Alright. So the front we know is just straight across, nice and easy. Let's start back here. And the reason you do this, if you screw up and you got to do the piece again, you don't want to have to unstaple all that and stuff in the front, because that's the simple, easy part. So now what you want to do here is just give yourself a couple relief cuts away from them corners. Come down in here. If it makes it easier for you, you can take chalk and just kind of give yourself a little relief here by removing some material. Alright, next thing you want to do is start working these corners. Get them stretched, because the cloth will stretch. Once you got them nice and stretched out, and it's sloppy, you can see that it's stretched out. Go ahead and flip her up like this. Open it up. Can you guys still see what's going on? Yes, you can. And this is where you want to go ahead and give her the glue. Alright. So now, get this corner worked up. Now I was able to actually get this cloth stretched around without seeing that V, but I'll show you on the other amplifier cabinet over there. It has a much deeper cut in it. So I really didn't need to do the corners on this one, but had I not done it, I would have needed to. And then I'd be bumming, because I'd be peeling this back and trying to put corners in it. To trim the rest of that out here in a second. So again, the reason that you leave these corners long is just like when we were putting the side pieces on. When you grab that corner and you stretch it, you see, it pulled all that out right there. And then again, when you're in this corner, you don't want to go all the way to the corner. Always stop 1/8 a quarter inch shy of making it to your piece you're covering, and you start at the deepest spot and you just work your way out a couple of triangle slits like that. Can you see that? Let me see. Yeah. So once you make those triangle cuts there, you just work it up and around. And the corners are the first things you want to work, because again, the straight spots, look at that, it just falls right into place once once you get the corner stretched in. So now you have all this extra material you can pull up and over, and this is where you can use your tucking tool if it helps you, if you don't have a lot of strength in your hands or whatever. Just smash all that down in there. Alright, so now all we have to do is trim off this extra material. See if I can get where you guys can see it. It's kind of hard to continue to work and constantly look to see if you guys can see what I'm doing, but try my best. You just want to take that extra material out so it don't hinder the amplifier chassis when you're going to put it back in. Alright. Now we got to do this front, and we're done with the covering part. Did I glue that? No. That one's empty. Alright. Bring it around. Make sure the corners are set real nice and tight. Near the edge. Tucking tool. Razor blade. Alright. I gotta staple it. Get one in that double seam. On this double seam. And across it. And that is an amplifier cabinet completely covered, guys. So that's how you do it. You get those nice flat seams just like the factory Tolex. I think that came out pretty nice. Everything looks uniform from side to side. These little single 10s and single 12s are a lot easier to pull a pattern off on because there's less area and space, and the pattern repeats itself pretty closely. So yeah, I think that works out real nice. We'll get the chassis and the handle in on it next, and the next episode we're gonna have to get the speaker grill done. So we'll do that a whole different show because we're already probably close to an hour into this one, and I had to pause it for you. But the guy that suggested this material also suggested that we go with the gold here. So if you made it this far, let me know what you think. Gold or the wheat? I personally think the wheat will look better myself. Yeah, because that's just too shiny, too loud. Where this has more of a softer, warmer tone to it, and it matches the tan in there. So we'll probably end up going with the tan over the gold. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think, and I'll give it a little more thought. But we're gonna go ahead and do this grill cloth next. So stay tuned for that. I'll probably put the amp chassis and the handle in it because, you know, it's not that big a deal to put a couple screws in this thing. And you guys don't really need to watch me put a plug in, plug a speaker in, and put 8 screws in. So I'll go ahead and get the chassis and the speaker and all that stuff in it, and then next show we'll get this grill cloth done, and this one will be a done deal, and it will probably go up for sale on Reverb unless Dad wants to keep this one and sell his he's got another one, another Rumble 25 that hasn't been covered. So either way, one of them will go up for sale, I'm sure. So I'm sitting here, I got it all zoomed in. Again, see, I'm not paying attention, guys. We're an hour and 5 minutes in. The cabinet's done. It's time to call it a day. It's over. All right, covered the wrong side, and actually I covered the bottom when it should have been the side, but that's it, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm a professional upholstery guy, so that's what it is. Till then, don't forget to like and subscribe if you made it this far. Thank you so much, and God bless.